And we understand how things are economically. It's obvious. And if it happens with everybody saying what's going to happen, it's going to get worse. So we need to be prepared, or we need to be just in the blessing of God, which has happened. We found out today that turkeys are not going to be available. Yeah, if you try to get a turkey for Thanksgiving, you know, apparently you're out of luck because there's not going to be a whole lot of turkeys. Okay, well, it just so happens that this job I worked on this last week, which made me very sore because I don't do a whole lot of handyman work anymore, was worth it because she had turkeys on her property, fresh turkey on her property. She's going to get them prepared and stuff, and she says, "Did you want one?"
Wow.
So I'm going to get a fresh turkey when other people won't get any turkey. So that was my next comment. You know, you can come to our house.
They're all over my street. You can come with a gun.
Oh my God.
There is that.
Yeah. Wild turkey.
I'm pretty sure that
Yum.
you could do lasagna. You could, I mean, really, lasagna would be great for,
Well, I'm a vegetarian.
There's
Wow.
vegetarian lasagna.
and not everybody could fit
You
in
don't
our
have to
house,
come.
so you can't make that invitation.
I was just saying. I mean, like, you know, it's going to be like this.
Blessings coming.
I've got a turkey. Oh, you've got dressing. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like that. So, but maybe not. I don't know. I kind of think that God's beyond that. God can, do great things. So anyway,
That's a good question. That's what the butchers are asking. Everybody goes, we don't know if we're going to have any turkeys. So there's a turkey shortage apparently.
Well, let's believe for abundance.
You know what? We can believe for abundance, and we know that God has put food on people's table when they just bowed their heads and prayed and opened their eyes and food was there.
I've heard that.
So we are going to live in a place of keeping our eyes on Jesus and fixed on Him, even if everything else says otherwise. We need to stay in a place fixed on Jesus, because in Him, what I'm understanding is the body of Christ, or those that are believers and believe in Him, are going to have favor during all this. So, but if you start looking towards the lack of, or start looking towards the confusion or the darkness or things, get your eyes off of where it needs to be, then you will start not having the favor that you need to have. So keep your eyes, get around people that are going to keep you fixed where you need to be looking. Look in those places. God's provision.
So I thought you were going to talk about this.
Okay, so where we're at as a ministry, and you guys can pray with us, we don't know, the giving has gone down, obviously, so we're dealing in a situation now where we don't know if we need to get rid of if we need to get rid of one of our buildings, because we have 3 here,
Offices.
offices. Yeah, I wish we had 3 buildings. Maybe that's prophetic. So this one, obviously, we need for meeting space. We have one straight up above us that does all the video and everything that we do. Videos here, where we do everybody does all their little things there. That's straight above us. Then we have another office that was our very first office, and it's where we do our prophetic words, inner healing happens, that kind of stuff is in that office, and the prayer is in that office. So we're in a place, and we'd ask you to pray. If you get anything from the Lord, please send it to us if we need to get rid of one, or if the provision's going to come up and we're going to be able to stay. That we don't know. There's a few of us, 3 of us, I think now, that actually get a little, well, we don't get it because we haven't had the money, but we used to get a little stipend,
Housing allowance.
like $300 a month for all the time we put in that we can't work. And not that that's a lot, but there's no provision for that either. So none of us are taking that. And so so you're aware that
Our cleaning lady.
we had to let go of our
We let her
cleaning
go.
lady. And
So we're back on our own.
So now we're cleaning again.
So take care of the place, please.
Yeah. So just so you're aware, because I don't think people understand, because we're not a Sunday church, people don't always give here. And that's okay, because God's our provision ultimately. But he does put it on the heart of people to give or not give. You know, that's just where we're at. So we're not panicking at all, but we do have to give a 30-day notice if we're going to be doing something of that sort. So we just ask that you really pray, that you seek the Lord on it, and if you get anything, let us know. We've had mixed views on our board, because we kind of feel like God's going to take care of it. But on the other hand, we just want to be wise. Does that make sense?
And the whole thing about being wise is looking at signs. You know, what is going on? Do we recognize it? You know, there was a time when we were talking earlier today about we were living on Kauai. We'd gone through a hurricane. I ended up with cash work for months afterwards from one of the a museum, a living museum that was in town, and that was a blessing. You know, me and a couple other guys, we did that, and so God provided for us. You know, but all of a sudden it was like, yeep, you know, the faucet went yeep, and so that was a sign. So what do we do? You know, well, we had enough money to send Kim and
Me.
Danelle here to the mainland, and Justin.
No.
Justin was with me too? He's such a good kid, you hardly know he's there.
He was little.
Yeah. Anyway, but we stayed, and we had to sell our car so that we can get the money for us to fly and to get our container with all of our junk back to the mainland. And so we did, and in 2 weeks' time, it was like, send them off, and it all worked out so well that we ended up staying at Trish's place in Rogers, their house for a month. But 2 weeks into being there, not even a week, I think. Anyway, it was a short time that all of a sudden God provided a way for me to make 10 grand in 1 month.
Nice.
But I had to fly to Japan to work in Japan to do that. Okay, so there's this. Do you hear what we're saying? God provided, okay, but He provided what? Opportunity.
Yeah.
And so we have to like step into the opportunity in order to get the provision that's available.
And what was interesting about it is we had no idea, well, one, we'd never even been here before. And of course, we hadn't been to Hawaii before we went there either. So when that decision was made and we felt God's hand in it, we had no idea what we were getting into because we had no money. And thank God Raj and Trish were gracious enough to let us stay in their house for a while. But, you know, it was an interesting area of trust when you don't know where you're going, but you know God's opened the door. Mm-hmm. And you can't make in your imagination what you think it's going to look like, because it never looks like what you're going to think it's going to look like. Like my sister-in-law, Trish, Kim, I think we should go apply at this restaurant. I don't even think you turned in the application, did you? And of course, I got hired. And so I got a job like right away. And it was hilarious because then I ended up like managing the staff, and it got me to where I was in banking, the whole lot. It was hilarious. But it's another one of those things where it was an open door, it was an opportunity, right. And the Lord brought the provision in.
If she didn't turn in the application.
Yeah, she was playing Jehovah sneaky is what she was doing at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm just saying, isn't that true?
Yeah.
We don't walk through the door. Mm-hmm. We don't apply. We don't, even check it out. How do you know it's God? Well, keeps working.
Yeah, you got to walk. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is why, like you say, I even when it was really hot, I would open my door to let the cool air come in the morning and then shut it and try to insulate as best I could so that I wouldn't have to run the air conditioner that long, and then get out of the office by 3 so that, because that's when it starts getting really hot. Mm-hmm. And the sun goes down right there, so it's like, on this side, right? So little things, you know?
Right.
So we're doing all the things that we, you know, it's like even the water.
We are,
Let's just get it out of
we're
the.
at cups.
we
Get
got
it out of
cups
the.
Because we're not buying
It-
water.
It is a
you
new
know?
filter in there, so there is that.
Anyway, but that's just, you see what I'm saying? We have done the things, we've seen the stuff, we just kind of working with whatever we got. But if God is saying there's something else, and we need to either get rid of that, you know, or let go of that one office, or
All of them, I don't know, we'll
We
have
don't
to
know.
see.
we
Yeah.
don't want to miss what God's doing. And you know, we're not fearful, we're joyful
Yeah.
about the opportunity. But we're looking for other opportunities if that's what God's doing.
And we all
Okay.
should be. That's where we're at. So part of the reason we want to talk about this is our life has been very much that kind of thing of taking risk and going through the fire and, you know, moving to Kauai in the first place and taking your whole family of 5 and your kids being little and absolutely never, ever even going to the island before you show up there. And showing up there not really knowing where we're going to live at all. And everybody saying everything was completely different than it was. Oh, don't worry about it.
People will come by and they'll give you a couch.
They'll give you this,
food,
they'll
and-
give you that.
Oh, people are great. We're like,
Yeah, it was completely different. Than, these people just wanted us there so bad, they made it sound like it was going to be this, you know, whatever. And the great news about it was the Lord used it to develop a lot in our character, and really a lot. Things needed to be killed in us that, you know, that we brought in that were not God. You know, there was an arrogance, I would say, for some of us in the early days of the vineyard that we thought we carried because of what we grew up in. Well, it got killed real fast. And then, real fast. And so part of it was really good. And then when Mike and I had to make decisions and things, we'd walk the cane fields. And then Mike got this whole revelation about cane fields, because when there's a vision one of our friends had years ago, and I think we've told you this, her name was Ruth Hanlon, and we were in our group, and she had this, it was either a dream or a vision, but she saw everybody in the group going out in twos. And some people went out the door, some people went out windows. She goes, but Mike, you and Kim went out the fireplace.
Whoa. Fire.
Wow.
it's through the fireplace.
Through the fireplace, yeah.
So,
And really, that's been our life in a nutshell. I think that it's probably the best thing,
book coming soon.
and it's probably the hardest thing. But it definitely takes away some things. And then you started getting a word we talked about today about.
Well, each one of us are going to be going through, or have been going through, our own little fire. You know, it happens. Stuff happens, right? So in the midst of fire, you're thinking, God, you're killing me. You know, I'm on fire. You know,
And you feel like
what are
it.
you doing? And this season that we're in is there's going to be fire, but it's you got to trust God through the fire. I mean, the songs that we were singing, and I knew the message that was coming was like, this is good stuff, because it's trusting God through it. And the reason why, you know, being in Kauai, all right, tons of cane fields, they burn them right before they
Stink.
harvest.
They burn.
Okay, so let me tell you what God was showing me today. All right, that's what's going on right now. There's going to be a harvest. All right, but what happens is the reason why they burn. Well, there's a few reasons why they burn the cane field. One of them is to get rid of any critters that might be roaming in through there. The other one is get rid of all the weeds that have grown up in and around them, but already chaff on, like all the leaves. But the best reason is what it does is it draws all the sweetness out of the root and puts it in the stalk.
Wow.
That's you.
Cool.
That's you. That's
You know,
us.
so God, when He sets you on fire, He's drawing up all that goodness and putting it right there, so it could be used in the stock.
From the vines.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. But then see, then the harvest. Then the harvest.
Yeah.
So if you feeling uncomfortable about any situation that either keeps coming up, and we've talked about this reoccurring thing, that comes up in your life, it's because God is purifying you with fire to make you more sweetness to the world.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Mhm.
Now,
Toasted
some
marshmallow.
people, when they get on fire, they're afraid that people will see that they got flames, and they run. Instead of stop, drop, and roll, they start running down the street, and everybody goes, but they're afraid of the shame that something in their life is exposed that they don't want exposed. That is the power of the whole trifecta of fear, shame, and control. See? You try to control the situation around you, and you can do that sometimes by disappearing. Where'd they go? Huh? They just don't come anymore.
They get uncomfortable because they're afraid that everybody's going to judge what they see. And, that's the lie from the enemy, because that's the last thing that we do with each other. I mean, our heart is that we would see people get whole.
Yeah.
Everybody's done stupid stuff in their past, or they've done things that aren't pleasant, but get rid of it. It's time to get rid of it.
Let me just ask this question. Has anybody here been freed of the shame of something in their past? Wasn't it so much better
Yeah.
after it's gone than trying to live or trying to hide it? Oh my gosh. We spend so much time trying to hide from God. And He's like, I'm living in you like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm right here. I
I'm-
don't know. What do you mean?
I'm well aware of this. I've been waiting for you to give it up. Yeah, yeah. The reason we're talking about this is because we've had a lot of people come and go through this group. And we've had some that leave because of that very reason. Something was starting to get exposed and they didn't want it to be dealt with, and they ran. And we've had people say, you guys are just too transparent. I don't want to come here. And you know what?
You're too intimate. Yeah.
You're too intimate, and I don't want, if they couldn't handle it. So you know what? I'd rather be that and be smaller
Amen.
than be a group that hides stuff and be large. So that's really what we're talking about right now. The season that we're moving into is going to be probably in the natural. Well, what I'm hearing in the prophetic realm, I'll just tell you that right now, that things are going to get darker, but God's people are going to shine like when Moses came down the mountain shine. So the reason things have to get darker is because if they're not, people won't really notice the light. The contrast, right? So if you're a believer, you have nothing to fear. If you keep your eyes on Jesus, you have nothing to fear. But pay attention, have a conversation with them, ask them, do I need to prepare for anything? And what does that look like? And part of that preparing might be letting the fire clean something out that's there. Because we don't want any triggers, right? You don't want anything to grab you when you don't want to get distracted and go walking off on some place you shouldn't be walking off. Call a friend. If you get a thought like that, call a friend. Make sure you get things cleaned up. Make sure that you take care of things, that you're standing in right standing with God. It's important in this season. And we've talked about it a lot in the last few months about foundation stuff. That's why we talked about it so much, because of what's coming. But always before a harvest, always, God's people, God deals with the church. And He
deals with the church first.
Yes, He deals with the church first. I think it's happening simultaneously right now, but He's dealing with the world and He's dealing with the church. So don't be surprised by what you see. Don't let it shake you. Keep your eyes on Jesus. And if you get a little afraid, call somebody, because the fear is not of God.
No.
At all. Confusion, not of God at all. So we're here, all of us, because we are a family, and anybody here will take a phone call, I bet you. How many of you would take a phone call if you had a friend that needed to talk to you? Yeah, absolutely. So that we want to make sure that you're aware of that going forward, and then really to be praying about the ministry so we know what we need to be doing going forward, because we're walking into a new thing, a new time in our new season in the world right now.
We definitely are not afraid. We're not fearful of the change. We recognize and we're looking at signs. So the sign may be, I've got this new building for you.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to get out of here because I got a building for you, waiting for you, because I
Yes.
promised it to you.
And, yeah.
So that just might happen. So I'm not, it doesn't matter.
We just want to be paying attention, and you guys are family, so we want you to be paying attention.
Exactly.
Yes, Donna?
So I'm believing that God will, at one time in the near future, say, hey, I got a new building for you, which I'm excited about. So I want to just enlarge on what you said. That gives all of us opportunity to partner with God to see that accomplished.
Okay.
Unless God says to the owner of the building, here's a building, I'm going to give it to you. Other than that, we will need the funding for the building.
Well, even if
And
we,
we get to partner with that.
true, and if we get handed the building that we think, or he has shown us in the past, it's still going to cost us a bundle to run the lights and the air conditioning. And, there's just a lot of stuff that's involved when you get into different buildings.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that anybody's run a ministry before, but if you have, well, you guys do. There's a lot in that. It's not just, oh my gosh, we have to have our building, we have to have our lights, we have to have our Wi-Fi, we have to have our heating and air, we have to have liability insurance, we have to, there's all this stuff that you have to have. We have our P.O. box, we have, so we can use the words in videos when we do them, we have to have license for that. There's a lot of stuff. So we're not afraid, we're not concerned in that, oh my gosh, if this doesn't come through, we're all gonna, it's not that at all. We just trust you as family and want everybody to pray and hear the Lord and let us know what you get in that. And we want you to be aware that the fire of God is here on all of us, and he's refining us to bring the sweetness up. So when people look at us, we look like Jesus.
Right.
So when I look, you don't see Mike and Kim, you see Jesus. Well, we're all part of the body, so I don't know. There might be the voice, I might be an arm. Anyway, so that's kind of where we wanted to be. Anything else you wanted to say on that?
I don't think so.
I kind of wanted to say a little something.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like the reason why we're going through this season is because God's calling us to a place of intimacy and transparency because the church hasn't represented itself well.
Okay.
That's just my experience in hanging out with, I hang out with a lot of non-Christians through work and all kinds of things. I get into meetings, people talk, they open up, they say things, and
You're talking stink about the church.
100%, yeah. There's tons of memes out there that people will say just because you smoke weed it doesn't make you a bad person, and just because you go to church doesn't make you a good person.
Right.
That's how the world sees the church.
Mm-hmm.
On the media and stuff like that. I feel like this is that season where you're saying, like, you're a Christian and you're here, you're saying, like, if God's going to expose something, he wants you to deal with it because he's calling us to this place of intimacy. I was just talking to my roommate last night, and I said, here's the deal. I go, you need to have encounters with Jesus just with you.
Yes.
You can go to concerts all day, conferences,
Yes.
whatever. You can go to Sunday service, and you can find it with other people. But if you don't have that specific encounter with that intimacy with one-on-one Jesus, you're always going to be chasing it.
Right.
There's that intimacy where you sit with him and you go, Father, I need to be healed.
Yeah.
How do we do this? Let's have this conversation. Let's sit together. Let's just hang out. It doesn't have to have music on. You don't have to have anything on. You could just have that experience with him. And you watch him do these things for you. So the manifestation that comes from that is in your faith grows because you're seeing the glory move. And nobody did it, just him.
Right.
It was this conversation between you and him. It's like when he tells you that you're going to do something and you don't let anybody steal it away.
True. There is that.
The identity within the church has to be solid. And I find that's the season I think we're going through. That's the fire. That's
It's
what it
refining.
is.
It's all refining.
100%.
Yeah, it is. And the more you lean into the refining and surrender to it, the faster it goes. It's much easier than fighting it. And it's funny because he will reveal things in you that you don't even know you have if you're paying attention and you get close with them. He'll start showing you even things in your personality that are out of alignment with
How you
his.
operate in relationships,
All of it. How
All
you
of it.
communicate, how you, when you're alone,
how you talk about yourself.
how you talk about yourself. When are you getting afraid? What am I getting afraid of?
Exactly.
You know, all those things are triggers to ask the Lord about. They're all conversations to help with them. And he will talk to you. He'll let you know. He definitely will. And for those of you that have never heard his voice sounds a lot like your own voice. Seriously. But it's brilliant, and you know you're not that brilliant. So that's how you know the difference. And then sometimes you see things, you know, people that see in the spirit, or they have dreams or visions, or you're sensing something. A lot of people are sensors, and they sense what God's doing. Pay attention to all those things. He also uses billboards, big trucks that go by you, things that happen on the side of the road, what your grocery cart little sign says on it when you go. I mean, pay attention. Strangers. Pay attention because he's speaking. You know, it's like that whole thing when someone said they were stranded, but the helicopters came and the boat came and they kept going, I'm stranded. Well, I'm telling you, he's sending helicopters and boats, and he's trying to speak. He's really trying to speak to people right now. And I believe you're a group of people that really do try to listen. So I don't think you're, you know, he's got to throw a rock at you or anything, you know, like some people like trying to get their attention. But you're going to need to be there for the people that have a hard time.
And,
Yeah.
I consider, you know, we grow leaders here. So it's gonna happen to you so you can lead.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen to you because you need to lead.
Yeah.
You need to be those people that help others,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And,
Well, I'm listening to Julie Green right now and Robin Bullock, and there's a few of them that are all on the same page. If you listen to them,
Well, even if you listen to the news.
oh, the news is saying the same thing, yeah, but I don't listen to the news. The thing I like about Julie Green is she will sit there and talk about everything that's come to pass that's been said. She holds herself accountable. So it's kind of a nice, she's young, it's nice to hear,
And she does not listen to the news at all.
no,
Straight
zero,
from
she
God.
doesn't at all, yeah.
yeah,
Good, okay, I didn't know.
You need to hear from God. That's the conversation we're saying is,
Yeah.
you need to hear from him if there's strategy you need to do or things you need to do in this season.
yeah,
Get yourself connected with people.
we had this conversation about prophetic intercession. Okay, prophecy and intercession, okay, how do those fit into?
Yeah.
Well, somebody gets a word and about something. Let's just say, I get a word that God's really moving on California. All right? So if that was like their sense. Now you say, instead of saying, yes, Lord, California, you say, where's my part?
Yeah.
First of all, if you're praying for the governor of California, who am I praying for? You know what I'm saying? What is my assignment in that bigger picture? We forget about that because we just trust their word instead of getting your
Getting
own.
our own, yeah. So you have to hear the Lord. That's exactly correct.
You see?
But everybody's got a part.
And
And that's what we need to be doing is find out what is our part. Because we all have one. Right?
We got parts.
We all got a part.
good
Yeah.
part, yeah.
And
I know.
There's no small part.
no,
I got a
no.
wide one, yeah.
So any other questions?
Okay,
We're good?
so you feel informed?
Yes.
Good, because that's what we wanted. We wanted you guys to kind of know.
We wanted you to feel informed. We wanted to know if you're feeling uncomfortable at times because God's doing stuff, let him do it. Because
Yeah.
that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And especially if he's birthing leaders, which we think he is, then you're going to be going through it. So be okay with that. He's
'Cause
fine tuning us.
Even Lance Wallnow, you know him.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He got rebuked recently because he was going to be speaking with Mario Murillo,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was telling somebody, another prophetic friend, he was saying, yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous, because I've never spoken to anything with this kind of caliber, with these many people, and the guy kind of spanked him a bit and said, well, why are you making it about you? And here's a guy, like I said,
Yeah, he busted himself online. That this
And he
is what
busted
happened.
himself, yeah. He busted himself.
Because I'm
and
learning.
Posted it.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, even him, he just says, yeah, it's because it wasn't about me, why am I nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love transparency. And,
Yeah,
and
and that's the future of leadership, absolute transparency.